Carbon forms one of the basic components which constitute the building blocks of life. Ironically, in the recent times, carbon emissions is considered to be one of the inexplicable miseries around. Herein lies the contradictory situation, but it wasn't always so. It is our own desires and motives which have led carbon to have a drastic negative influence in our lives, with interferences with natural equilibrium of gases like CO, CO2 and CH4. Let's talk about some anthropogenic activities that have led to this interference. Burning of extensive amounts of fossil fuels in various streams include electricity consumption, setting up of factories, and most importantly, usage of vehicles is one of the many ways of pollution, giving rise to enormous amounts of carbon content in air. We have contributed as much as 2.8 billion CO2 globally in this year itself. The current concentration of CO2 is 414.38 parts per million, which is a 47% increase since the pre-industrial era. Another vicious contributor for CH4 is the livestock farming and increased organic waste amount. The current CH4 concentration is 1876.3 parts per billion. Our food demands and love for red meat is projected to increase by 80% within 2030, which is directly proportional to these methane emissions. Hence, we can imagine what kind of an earth we will be living in 10 years' time. Now let's delve into some of the most prominent consequences these irrational activities are leading to. To be precise, know about climate change. The greenhouse gases traps the solar energy. This helps to maintain the temperature of Earth, but the increase of such gas emissions has resulted in more trapping of energy than required, which has resulted in outcomes like rapid global warming, which is one of the most pressing issues worldwide. This results in temperature rise, and the Indian average temperature is projected to increase by 2.4 degrees Celsius by 2050. Melting of ice. 449 billion tons of ice has melted in this year itself due to increased heat. A fourth issue, which is the rise in sea level. About 24.8 centimeter rise has been observed since 1900 globally. By 2050, a rise of 30 cm is predicted, which can engulf major Indian coastal cities, resulting in casualties of 36 million Indians. Ocean acidification is one other baffling consequence. These scenarios make us picturize a lot of horrifying facts. So here is what we can do. It is predicted we will exhaust all our oil reserves completely in a global scale within the next 47 years. That's pretty insane, keeping the future in mind, when we only extract about 27% of renewable resources globally. We can thus start thinking and start acting on how to minimize the usage of fossil fuels and stress on finding measures to use renewable resources like the sun, wind, water, and so on. Coming back to carbon, it can be sequestered or simply trapped by the nature itself, mostly by plants and phytoplanktons in the ocean. So it's pretty simple what we have to do. We have to protect, grow and conserve more and more natural ecosystems, which include mangroves such as the Sundarbans, forest covers, coral reefs, seagrass and also glaciers. Thirdly comes the concept of carbon footprint. This concept deals with facts like how much carbon we are individually emitting in our daily life. The total carbon concentration in the nature is almost static and only changes in its form. We need to keep in mind that we have the power to decide its form. If small things can bring a huge change, why not get united with millions of others to act accordingly? Simply switching off the power when it's not needed, availing solar power as a source of energy, not using cars if not needed. Only a small demand in non-renewable resources can stop the voracious exploitation.